The letter A can make a short sound or a long sound. The short sound will say ah. What is the short sound going to say? Ah. 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 Guys, A. Short sound. Ah. Say it. Huh? Ah. Yes, the vowel A is going to make the ah sound. Phoenix, don't move. Then, think about the word apple. 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 Okay? Short sound, you can think of it like this. The short sound, it is very short to the ground. It makes a small sound. Ah. Okay? The A is not making a big sound because it is tiny and shy. It's small. So it's making a short sound. But we also have the long sound for A. And the long sound says A. What does it say? A. The long sound says A. Think about the word acorn. Acorn. A is big and strong and powerful. So you can think of the long sound as super tall, super brave, or super big, okay? It makes the A sound. It's very strong. It makes a strong sound, okay? So, when we have A-E right here, we have an A and then a consonant. Say the consonant's T. It can be any consonant. It can be V. It can be T. It can be C. No matter what consonant it is, when there is the letter E at the end of the word, and it has the letter A in it before it, it is going to make the A sound. So it doesn't matter. So it'll be A and then whatever the sound is. If it's a C,
8.
yeah, that says 8 technically, A-T-E. Or it could be an M, and it'll be aim. Whatever it is, the vowel says its long name. So, one way to remember this is by thinking about the letter E as being a superhero, or thinking about it as being a silent E. So when we read this, our E would not make a sound. So think about the word grape. Grape. We have our A, and we have our E, and we have our P. So we have our vowel, our consonant, and our E. Our vowel, consonant, E. When we have our vowel, consonant, and then an E, the E is silent. So what does this word say? Grape. Grape. Okay? Because the A will say its long vowel sound. So grape. You don't say ape. That's not how you say it. You say grape. Grape. The E doesn't make any sound, okay? It is silent. It is just there to help out the A be big and strong and brave, okay? So we're going to do that as an exit ticket in just a little bit. This is like the 3rd or 4th day that we've talked about this, so we're going to practice it after we do our reading. So, today our learning target says, I can ask and answer questions using words such as who, what, when, where, and why. I need everybody to go ahead and turn their body towards me because the book that we previewed on Friday, we are actually going to read today, okay? And we are going to be asking ourselves questions along the way. We are going to be asking ourselves questions along the way, okay? So, I want you to stick your tongue out if you remember us previewing this book on Friday. I do. This book seemed awesome, and you were all like, Miss Goodman, why are we not reading this book today? Why are you trying to make us sad by not reading the book? And I told you we would read it. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to actually read the story. We made a lot of good predictions on Friday about what this book was going to be about, Phoenix. So today, I want you to think about your predictions that you made. I made a prediction that Mercy, the piglet, was a boy. Somebody said that it was a girl, but we don't know. We also said that I predicted that the piglet had fallen out of the truck and ran to this house and wanted to be their pet. But at first, that was not my prediction. My first prediction was that they got mad because the pig destroyed their house and made a mess. Because remember, they were cleaning at the very beginning? And I don't know. It's a prediction. We are just using what we see on the page to make a guess about what we think might happen. And your prediction isn't always right, but making a prediction gets you ready to read your story. So that's why we looked at our pictures, we looked at the title, and we made a prediction about what the book might be about. Today, we're going to stop, we're going to ask ourselves questions, we're going to think about whether our prediction was right or wrong, and what actually happens in the story. So I need you to show me your looking eyes and your listening ears. I need everybody's attention on me. A piglet, huh?
Aren't we having visitors today too?
I think so. A Piglet Named Mercy by Kate DiCamillo, illustrated by Chris Van Duzen. I'm not sure.
I saw.
I mean, it doesn't make a
What's her
difference.
name?
Mr. Watson and Mrs. Watson lived in a house on Deckawoo Drive. Deckawoo Drive was an ordinary street in an ordinary town. And Mr. and Mrs. Watson were ordinary people who did ordinary things in ordinary ways. What does the word ordinary mean? I want to read that again. Let's see if we can figure it out. And Mr. and Mrs. Watson were ordinary people who did ordinary things in ordinary ways. I read the word ordinary 3 times in one sentence. That makes me think that this is a very important word. What might this word mean? Does anyone know? Nicholas, what does ordinary mean? Doing things normally. Let's go back and reread and see if that definition makes sense in our story. Mr. Watson and Mrs. Watson lived in a house on Deckawoo Drive. Deckawoo Drive was an ordinary street in an ordinary town. Okay, so like a normal street in a normal town. Okay, that kind of makes sense. Let's read the next page and make sure. And Mr. and Mrs. Watson were ordinary people. So they were normal people who did ordinary things. So they were normal people who did normal things in ordinary ways, in normal ways. So I want to ask myself a question. It's telling me that they were normal people. They did normal things. Why does the author want me to know that so bad? Like she really repeated the word ordinary a lot. She's really trying to get me to understand that they were normal people. They just did normal things in normal ways all the time. I want to think about that, and as I keep reading, I want to try to answer my question. Why does the author want me to know so much that they're just normal people? Why is that so important? Okay, let's keep reading. One day, Mrs. Watson said to Mr. Watson, "I wonder if we aren't just the tiniest bit too predictable." Predictable? Us? Said Mr. Watson. Surely not. It's just that sometimes I wish something different would happen, said Mrs. Watson. Things are just fine as they are, said Mr. Watson. I wonder why Mrs. Watson feels that way. I wonder why she wants things to be different. Let's see if my book answers my question. But then, something different did happen. I want to ask myself another question. What is happening here? The story hasn't told me yet, but can I look at the picture and think about what is happening in this picture? Damon, what is happening? What do you think is happening?
So there's a whole bunch of things, and there was one little one. All the pigs were pushing each other. They were trying to feed themselves by breaking the wood down, and then accidentally some of them pushed her up, and then she slammed and hit the ground.
Okay, I like that prediction. You can ask yourself, you can say, what is happening on this page? Where are these people going? That's a question I want to ask. Where were the pigs being taken to? Where was this truck going? Why is the pig flying out of the back of the truck? I stop and I ask myself questions so that I can better understand the story. If I just skip past this, I might not have realized that a pig came flying out of the back of the truck. So it's important that stop and you ask yourself questions about why, when, where, how, who, okay? I might ask, who is driving the truck? Is this a farmer? Is he the pet owner? Who is driving the truck? Let's see. Someone very small and not at all ordinary found her way to the Watsons' house on Decawoo Drive. Found her way. Her. So that tells me a little bit about my character, Mercy, right? I predicted that Mercy the piglet was a boy. But we know that the ordinary people were Mr. and Mrs. Watson. And this page says, someone very small and not at all ordinary found her way to the Watsons' house on Decawoo Drive. So that tells me that Mercy, the piglet, is a girl, right? Because the author says her. If I didn't stop and just ask myself, who is her? Who is the author talking about when they say her? I would have just kept reading and I wouldn't have understood who the author was talking about. So stopping and asking myself those type of questions helped me to better understand the story that I am reading. Sorry guys, these pages are kind of hard to turn. Mr. Watson made the discovery when he opened the door for the morning paper. Mrs. Watson, he called, come see. Oh, the little dear, said Mrs. Watson. Oink, said the piglet. I think she's hungry, said Mr. Watson. How do we think Mr. and Mrs. Watson are going to respond? What do we think they're going to do? Let's see. What do we think they're going to do? Lucas. Okay, do you think they're going to take the pig in as a pet? Do you think they're going to return the pig? What do you think they're going to do, Lucas?
Treat it better.
Okay, so you think they're going to bring it into their family? The pig? They're going to bring the pig in? Okay. Damon, what do you think?
I think they're going to treat it like it's baby.
Okay. So you think they're going to treat it like it's their kid, like it's their baby? Let's keep reading and see. And boys and girls, these questions that I'm asking you, you can ask yourself. So like I just asked, what do we think they're going to do with the pig? If you opened your door and there was a pig on your doorstep, what would you do? What do you think they're going to do? And then you can make a prediction about what you think is going to happen or what you think the answer might be. And then you can keep reading and see if your answer was right. Okay, so let's see what they do. Is that a pig? Said Eugenia Lincoln. Eugenia Lincoln lived next door and she did not approve of surprises or pigs. It is, said Mrs. Watson. Can you believe our luck? Don't be ridiculous, said Eugenia Lincoln. A pig is not lucky at all. I'm really curious. Why does the neighbor feel this way? Why do you think that Mr. and Mrs. Watson are going to listen to Mrs. Eugenia? Do you think they care about her opinion?
No.
Do you think they care? No? Okay, let's keep reading.
By the way, baby is basically baby and sister. Oh. So that's the sister that's
Do you think perhaps a piglet would be like a bottle of warm milk? Said Baby Lincoln. Baby was Eugenia's younger sister, and she was fond of surprises and piglets. What do we think the word fond means? What do we think the word fond means? Do you think perhaps a piglet would like a bottle of warm milk? Said Baby Lincoln. Baby was Eugenia's young sister, and she was fond of surprises and piglets. Based on what we just read, what do we think the word fond means? Phoenix.
She likes to be fun.
So fond, boys and girls, means that you like something. You are fond of something. So I am fond of Centerville Elementary School. I like the school. Eugenia's little sister, Baby, likes surprises. She likes piglets, okay? Mr. Watson scratched his head. A bottle of milk, I don't know. That is all so unpredictable. Leave it to me, said Baby Lincoln. Oink, said the piglet again. Bring eyes up here. Mrs. Watson picked up the piglet and took her inside. She wrapped blanket. Have you ever seen anyone so darling? She said. Never, said Mr. Watson. So earlier in the book I asked, what are they going to do with Piglet? They open their door and they see Piglet sitting on their front porch. What are they going to do? And some of us made a prediction that they were going to take the pig in and make it like their kid. Was that prediction right?
Yes.
Yes. What if we didn't know the answer? Sometimes, boys and girls, we ask questions that we don't know an answer for. We might not be able to think of anything. But when you are reading, you can stop at later points and see if your question was answered. So say I had no idea what they were going to do with it. I made no prediction. As I was reading, I could stop here and be like, oh, that's right. I had a question about what they were going to do with Mercy the piglet, and now I have an answer. Now I know that they took Mercy in and started treating it like their baby or like their child. Please don't blurt out. Please take a nose drip from cold. No, we don't blurt out. Here is the warm milk, said Baby Lincoln. I have it right here. Eugenia said, that is absurd. What do we think the word absurd means? We know that Baby Lincoln really likes piglets and likes surprises. And we know that Eugenia does not like surprises. She doesn't like piglets. She doesn't like surprises at all. But when Baby Lincoln said, here is the warm milk, I have it right here, Eugenia said, that is absurd. What do we think the word absurd might mean? Nyla.
It might mean that absurd means that, like, disgusting. Like, no.
Disgusting. What else might it mean? Anyone else? Damon.
It means
Crazy, weird, not normal. That is absurd. That is silly, crazy. Who are you to give a pig a bottle of milk? Okay? So remember last week we talked about finding words that we don't know in our story and trying to figure out what they mean based on the context of the story. Do you see how I stopped to think about what I already knew about the story to figure out what the word absurd means? Some of you just skip right over the word and you're like, it's okay, I don't need to know it. But you do, because that helps you to understand your story better. So right here, if I didn't know that absurd meant crazy or silly or absolutely insane, then I wouldn't really understand what was happening in the plot, okay? The piglet did not think it was absurd at all. She drank the entire bottle. Nicholas, can you either move to the back or sit on your bottom so people behind you can see? Thank you, sweetie. And then she burped and oinked and went looking for more. I wonder. She jumped and she ran to look for more. Where is she going to go to look for more? Where would she go to find more milk? Eduardo. But she's looking for more milk. Where might she go if she's looking for more milk? Mason, where might she go if she's looking for more milk? The fridge? All right, let's see. Oh my goodness, said Mr. Watson. Watch out, said Eugenia. She seems to like toast very much, said Baby. Oh, the darling thing, said Mrs. Watson. I wonder how Mr. and Mrs. Watson are going to feel. I know that when my animals try to get food that doesn't belong to them, I get really upset. I'm like, that's my food. I made that toast for me, not for you. So I want to know how Mr. and Mrs. Watson are going to. They lived on a normal street in a normal house. They were normal people, ordinary people. But now we know this isn't ordinary. This is not something that would usually happen to anybody, especially not then. So the author really wanted us to know how out of the ordinary it was that Piglet, Mercy the piglet, showed up on their doorstep. This piglet is a wish come true, said Mrs. Watson. What a mercy she is, said Baby. There you go, said Mr. Watson. We will call her Mercy. She is not a Mercy, said Eugenia. She is a pig. How does Eugenia feel still? Has she warmed up to the idea of a piglet?
Yes.
Nyla? No, why do you think she hasn't? How do you know that?
She's really in the back going like this. Oh my God.
Yeah, she's using the, Nyla just used the picture to see that Eugenia's in the back like, absolutely not. This is a crazy idea, and piglets are not pets.
No, they're not.
That's what I imagine she's in the background saying. We know that she said she is not a Mercy. She is a pig. See how we used our picture and asked ourselves questions to figure out how one of our characters was really feeling in our story? Oink, oink, said the piglet. You cannot name a pig Mercy, shouted Eugenia. But they did name her Mercy. She was entirely unpredictable. She was not at all ordinary, and she was very, very loved. So, did Mr. and Mrs. Watson care about what Eugenia had to say? No. Because at the end of the day, it was going to be their piglet, right? Not hers. That was just their neighbor. Would you listen to your neighbor if you had a piglet show up on your doorstep and they were like, no, you should not keep that piglet? Would you keep the piglet anyways?
Yes.
Yes? I think I would too. So, boys and girls, when we're reading, do you see how I stopped and I asked myself questions to help me better understand the story? I asked questions at the very beginning, before I read the book. What do I think this book is going to be about? Who do I think the characters are in this book? What is something I can learn about the characters by looking at the pictures? Then as I read the book, I stopped and asked myself questions to help me better understand what was happening on the page. How did Eugenia feel about the piglet? How is Mr. and Mrs. Watson going to respond to the piglet? Are they going to take the piglet in? Are they going to keep it outside? Are they going to get rid of it? You can ask yourself all types of questions and then answer your questions along the way to help you better understand the characters, better understand the problem and the solution in your stories. You can ask any question that you want. And sometimes, boys and girls, not all of your questions are answered. This book might have ended with Eugenia saying, I'm going to get rid of that pig, and then her walking out the door. Would we know what Eugenia was doing next? No, we wouldn't have known. So sometimes we might have asked ourselves, oh my goodness, what is she going to do? And it never answers your question, and that's okay. But a lot of the times it does. Questions that you have on pages, sometimes it'll be answered on the next page or the page after that. And even if it's a question that you have at the very beginning of the book, you can still answer it at the end of the book. There was a question that I asked on the very first page that didn't get answered until the end. So it's important that I keep those questions in my mind and I keep thinking about them so that I can answer them along the way, okay? So, today, I want you to look at this picture. Look at the picture up on my screen. And I want you to think about a question that you have about this picture. Any question that you have. And you're not going to say it out loud, you're just going to think about it. What question do you have about this picture right here? It could be any question, Mason. And when you have a question, I want you to put your hand to your chest. When you have a question about this picture, I want you to put your hand to your chest. And remember, boys and girls, you can't see the picture if your eyes are not on the picture. When you have a question about this picture, I want you to put your hand to your chest. Oh, I see that Journey is ready, and Kalani and Nyla are ready. India. Let's see. Awesome job. I see that Kino's ready. Eliana's ready. Demond is ready. Lucas, you need to be thinking of a question. If you haven't thought of a question yet, you need to now. We're not talking about what is happening in it. We are asking ourselves a question. Any question. What is something, LaJohn, that you wonder about this picture? What is something you want to know? What is something you want to know about this picture? It could be anything. Guys, no question is silly. No question is wrong. It's whatever question you have. I might ask, why is the background blurry? Some of you might think that's a silly question, but it's a question that I have. On the count of 3, you're going to quietly whisper with your elbow partner one question that you have about this picture. 3, 2, 1, go. Whisper. What is your question? That's a good question. I like that. Good question. I like that. What is your question, Okay, I like that. Same question. All right. And 3, 2, 1. Eyes on me. Oh, Journey is ready. India is ready. Demond is ready. Kalani is ready. Henry is ready. Eduardo is ready. Oh, I love how quietly you just got when it was ready to pay attention again. Awesome job. One question that I heard a lot of, almost every person I talked to had this question. Why in the world is a dog on the computer? That's crazy. But, boys and girls, let me tell you something else I heard. Eyes on me. 3, 2, 1. Thank you. I heard someone say something really awesome. When they asked that question, not only did they ask the question, but they also made a prediction. Nyla, what did you say you think is the reason the dog is on the computer?
To spend all his owner's money.
Guys, to spend all his owner's money. Isn't that funny? You can make a prediction. You can ask yourself a question and make a guess about what the answer might be. Some of you didn't make an answer, and that's okay. But you can make a prediction about what the answer is going to be or what you think might be the reason. But say this was a book. As we kept reading, you need to stop and see if your prediction was right or to stop and answer your question, okay? So, boys and girls, we have a paper that we are going to do, and it has a story. I need all eyes and ears on me. Remember, this is a decodable text. So what that means is you should all be able to read this because we just started working on the vowel, consonant, E. So look right here. We have vowel, consonant, E. Vowel, consonant, E. Vowel, consonant, E. Vowel, consonant, E. This whole passage has the vowel, consonant, E. So in this word, it would say D. The A would make the long vowel sound because the E is silent, so D-A-V. And then the E would make no sound, right? So that would say Dave and Jake went to the lake. You are going to read this, and then you are going to answer these 3 questions. 1, who went to the lake? 2, what did Jane take to the lake? And 3, why did they eat cake in the cave? Okay? So when I call your name, you may come get a paper. And boys and girls, I'm calling